Everybody, welcome to another brand new Because Cannabis podcast every single Wednesday, 4:20 p.m. on YouTube. Right now, as you're listening on YouTube, take your finger, take it, maybe a thumb, maybe a pinky, maybe you're a pinky pointer, I don't know. Take that finger, divert your eyeballs, find the subscribe button. It's hands like, nah, I don't want to, but you do. You do. Are you like, nah, I don't want to?
This is so messed up.
You do. Clickety clack. That finger, that thumb, that pinky. Use a toe. Use a private part. I don't care how you do it. We're all freaks in the bed, right? Click on that subscribe button right now. Every single person, click subscribe. Give us some love. We got some great shows coming up as we head into 420, April 20th. Really excited about this. Every single Wednesday, brand new episodes on YouTube. Thursdays with video on Spotify and anywhere that you listen to audio podcasts. My name is BC Wayman. That's Dustin Cava. What's up, buddy?
Hey, man. How are you this week?
I am doing great. I always love it when we have a guest, when we have an interview. And today, we break the fourth wall. Today, our guest just talked forever in the pre-show. Like, we're so late recording this because we clearly all like to talk and all love talking to each other. So I'm excited to have Anthony Riley, Ohio Cannabis Live, the Mastamynd, here on the show today to talk about what he's doing, what some cannabis media world he's got going on, making content, launching a product. You can buy Mastamynd vapes in some stores across Ohio right now. I'm sure Anthony will tell us all about it. Dustin, hear us right now. I know this is super awkward for you, but I like to put you on the spot. Would you say Anthony is our competition?
Ooh.
Competing for eyeballs with Anthony Riley here? Is this like a collab? Like when two artists get together, one lays the beat, one lays the harmony, maybe a guest artist comes in on the bridge, or are we going to be more a little competitive here and be like, hey, man, we're the same weed-filled, hazy-covered eyeballs.
No way. I got to say, I'm so tired of the rhetoric of we can't talk to our competitors or enjoy our competitors' company.
There's a weirdness in cannabis. They want to be friendly,
bullshit.
But it's also
and even in the head shop game, it was like, I made more money sending people to another shop than I ever made in my own shop. Every time I'd be like, you know what? I don't have this here, but you should go 5 miles down the road to my nearest competitor. I'm going to call him right now, make sure he has it before you head over there, and then send him out. And I would say 80% of the time was just like, well, can you just order it from me? I respect you more because you told me about someone else, but I'm just going to wait because I love you. I'm loyal to you. And, you know, it's so funny. I remember I was building a website for someone, and I was talking to the competitor just nonchalantly at a convention or something. And they were so upset over the idea of working with a competitor. They even were saying things like, or preventing other artists from selling their stuff elsewhere. And they had the mentality of like, oh no, everybody in the world's my competitor. Because I have a website, everyone is my competitor now. I don't want you working with them. I don't want you attaching.
Maybe they're just trying to create false competition, right? Like an athlete that gets drafted low and they're like, I got this chip on their shoulder kind of vibe. I find it interesting. You know, I've worked some PEDs in these dispensaries, these patient education days, and sometimes you'll end up with another vendor in the same room. And I'm always like, is this going to be an Anchorman situation? Like, is shit going to be ugly, or like bong's going to be shoved in eyeballs? Like, what's about to happen right now? Or are we going to be cool here? We're going to be John Travolta. We're going to be Danny DeVito. We're going to be cool and just relax and sell our products, sell our cannabis. And it's always interesting because some of them, and this is where it's always interesting in the industry. It is an industry that is built on community. It's an industry that's built on giving a plant-based medicine to the masses, but it's also a competitive industry. It's an industry where people right now, companies are producing biomass and not selling it to other companies because they want to be the company that actually sells the product. Like, it's that kind of competitive. It's a competitiveness when you're in the room standing next to another person and you both carry similar products. Some people are like, hey, check out theirs, check out theirs. I'm a check out theirs kind of fella. You probably already know that. But some don't even acknowledge you. Like, you're not in the room. Like, you're not standing there with your product. But like, I'm doing the same thing. I got stickers too, folks. And sometimes you got to get a little abrasive. It's an interesting environment. It's both friendly. It's not friendly. No one really knows exactly what it is. So let's bring our guest in right now, leaning back. Anthony, would you consider us your competition right now?
No.
Yeah, hell no.
I don't know how to take that. Is that like a no? And that we are not ready to step up to the Ohio Cannabis Live, ohiocannabislive.com, available on YouTube, Instagram, and other places? Is that because we're not on the same level, or because you are just like a friendly, everyone in cannabis has a role to play in the industry kind of person?
One community. I want everybody to work together. So no, I don't. I see we all got to come together. It's time.
What do you think why is that valuable?
Well, the stronger the better. The more people, we're stronger in numbers. The more we're more effective as a collective than we are as factions, as I would like to say. I think that there's room and there's enough money and opportunity for everybody to succeed, be successful, and we're just going to be a lot stronger if we work together.
Is that a industry specific thing, or is that, does that work for every industry and every company out there?
I'm not going to say that because maybe it doesn't work for Burger King and Wendy's or McDonald's. And maybe it doesn't work for some dispensaries. Maybe multi-state operators don't like the little guys and wants
Never.
to buy them out. And you mentioned about the vendor day thing and being in the room with. I had my first patient education day and Mount Orb Uplift. I went to the wrong dispensary. I was supposed to go to Milford, but I went to Mount Orb. So
No, the old hey, as someone who's rolled into Shangri-La West instead of Shangri-La Superstore, I have been there, right? They're down the road. All right, Anthony Riley, let's do that right now. Let's get off the bat. You are launching kind of your first product. We'll talk about Ohio Cannabis Live, ohiocannabislive.com. You can find a link in the comments below in just a second. You got this media thing you're trying to do. You're trying to put it out there, but you decided to partner with Beneleaves, an amazing processor out of Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Bill and with the work they are doing at Beneleaves. We just had Broderick on the show recently, Broderick Randall II, on the show not too long ago. Why kind of get into the product production game? And while you're at it, tell us a little bit about Mastamynd Vapes and Mastamynd Cannabis and what you have going on with it.
all right, great. So originally, the first thing we did was started Mastermind Kush. That was with Standard Wellness. Shout out to Standard Wellness. That was an honorary thing. I did not have any financial uh, aspect in that part. But it was cool to have products named after me and my dog. My name is Mastermind because I have a brain injury and I have a gift with technology. Kush, my dog's name was Kush. He died from cancer. That's where Mastermind Kush came from. That strain was very popular, and so were the products that were produced with the same strain. Yes, it's gone, but we're hoping to bring it back someday. Mastermind Cannabis is the evolution of Mastermind Kush. And working with Beneleaves will allow us to offer quality vape cartridges and other products. So it won't just be vape cartridges, it will be other things, edibles and such.
Ooh.
That's what's coming soon. But now we're just trying to get out there in the market. Obviously, there are a lot of other processors, a lot of other cartridges out there. What I'm looking at is effectiveness and affordability, and being able to offer something to patients that has a story behind it, from somebody who's just a regular person. I'm not no famous celebrity. I'm just a regular patient in the program who has put in a lot of time and work to try to give people information and try to encourage other folks like you two gentlemen to come out of their shell, to not be afraid to show your face and tell your story or just be a part of a new story.
Why is it so important to be a part of the cannabis industry? What is it that instead of doing something else or selling some other product, why choose one of the most, I don't want to say difficult, I want to say, I guess we'll just say difficult
It is difficult.
industries to jump into and to really get a footing? Why do that to yourself?
Well, I think part of it is because I have bigger aspirations of learning more about the industry and the retail side of it. Hoping to open my own dispensary. You heard it there
Hmm.
first.
Getting into that.
So, in order for me to be able to be effective in the cannabis industry, and not just in media, but also in retail, I need to learn the different aspects of what it involves, and also. This has kind of been something we've worked on for many years. It just didn't just happen last year, but it's just that when you have health issues, sometimes that puts you back. And last year wasn't the best year for me, but this year we're coming out swinging and shining, and we intend to outperform, outsell everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. I was just looking up. You have the a 1-in-1 THC CBD vape and the grape gas out there right now.
Yes.
How do you, when you got folks out there, and let's talk about that PEDs, because it's always an interesting thing. You're standing in these dispensaries. You have all these patients who have come in. The majority of them have probably already placed an online order ahead of time. So you're there to kind of talk about your product and such. And they come
Right.
up, they're looking at your table, they're asking you what free swag. They're like, what's that fancy word? Pavlonian patients right now. They all walk in knowing that if the table's there, you got free stuff. And they're just like ding, 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 like that bell going off. Where's the freebies? What freebies you got? So they
Right.
walk up there, they try to get their freebies. They're always disappointed unless you got some rad swag. And they're like, hey, why Mastermind? What is that product? What has you found, or what are you working on, or what kind of successful messaging are you trying to put out there to help yourself differentiate amongst the multitude? The average dispensary has like 250, 260, maybe more vape SKUs available at any given time between carts and pods and all the new forms everyone's trying to put oil in. How, or what's your messaging that why Mastermind? Why does it stand out? Why is it for you, for them, the patient?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. And even though I'm mastermind, I still believe that anyone can become a mastermind in their own right. And part of that is having a product that actually does something for them. Our one-to-one vape cartridge, our goal here is to keep you balanced with THC and CBD. That was a vision that I laid out with Beneleaves. Is I wanted a product that doesn't just get someone medicated or high, but also give them some functionality where they can actually do something. However, I know people who want something that's going to be more sedating and more relaxing. And we come up with the grape gas, which has been a success so
Hmm.
far. And I'm about terpenes and what those terpenes do, how much of it is in actual product. And I'm also into other cannabinoids such as CBG, CBC, and other things that I think might be helpful for pain. I'm a person that suffers a lot of pain. And I know a lot of people who are getting medical cannabis. One of the main reasons that they are looking for it is for pain relief. So what I want to make sure is that a product that I'm standing behind not only tastes good, but also makes you feel good in a way that is going to help you with your pain. Now, is it going to make your pain go away completely? No, I'm not a medical expert. I can't guarantee anything like that. But if it can help you get through a day better and help you be able to achieve what you're trying to do and mastermind whatever you're trying to do, then my mission is accomplished.
As you are starting out, you can kind of build this loyalty to the brand with very specific products. So you
Right.
have a patient has something that works from you and they constantly are coming back. How do you balance the need to scale, the need to try new things and still provide the medicine that has worked for a patient for X amount of time? How do you add new strains, new SKUs, not remove the ones that continuously are working for someone, but still get them that still grow in some way instead of the same products this every week for years and years?
That's an awesome question, and I have thought about that very carefully. And I think the pathway, and this is probably going to be something they're going to clone and reuse. The pathway to success in this industry, especially in Ohio, is listening to the consumer. Feedback is very important, and if you're not receiving that feedback in a very condensed way where you can interpret it and turn it into actions, meaning that
Yeah, it's
I want
one thing to
people to
gather the data, it's another thing to put the data to use.
That's the harder
right.
part.
I want people to tell me what they want, what strains they would like to see us work on getting, and then go for those strains instead of just guessing and just thinking, well, I think this one will be great and I think that one will be great. I really think that getting an opinion from multiple individuals from various areas is going to give you a more better consensus of what everybody's really truly looking for in a vape and in a strain. And again, with me just coming out here, I'm just now starting to really, really ramp up our feedback to really get people to tell me, was this a hit or a miss? Because I certainly want to know whether or not it was a hit or a miss. It sounds like it is another mastermind hit, but still, there's still early, it's still more time. And again, we are still going to probably either have either a hybrid or sativa come out next. And I'd like to see how people deal with that because sometimes sativas can be a little bit different than high indicas or one to ones. And I want to educate people about how to use these products as well, because I think that's another missing link that we just sell somebody something and we don't give them any recommendation about what type of 510 battery should they use. What about voltage? What about temperature? Why are people hitting vapes and coughing their head off and thinking that's totally okay
How
when it's
about why the
absolutely
hell are
not?
we still using 7-year-old technology in our cartridges? I mean, it's this idea of, yeah, I can fill my cart with whatever the fuck I want as a business, but
Right.
we haven't actually innovated our devices in any sense. As someone who's sold probably 22,000 batteries over 7 years, I definitely can see that we're still using the
But
same
there,
damn technology.
it's a
And it's
weird
not
hit or
just
miss
because
though.
it works, it's because it's cheap. It's because it's the easiest thing to grab, and you have 40 manufacturers who can give it to you at a good price.
Right.
I don't feel like we're actually innovating. I don't really feel like in our devices we're saying, is this filament safe? Inside of this, as I'm heating up this coil, what metals are you using in that? What is the vapor points of those metals? Why am I bringing them up to 4 volts at or this temperature to smack them back when I should be slowly lifting them into the temp? How do we really have that device conversation and still make money, still not just buy into the new? How do you take a chance on something that's new when no one's even used to it to begin with? What are, that we just don't have that
Well, I was going to
conversation.
say, Dustin, it's hard, I think, sometimes because you have companies that are trying to push it. You have Aircraft and you have Arrow and you have the PAX Era and you have these
Sure.
other devices. You have the Luster Pod, big in Ohio, which are like evolutions of it. But the 510, still reigns supreme. And the reality is you're going to see the Dispo, the all-in-one, just rise and rise and rise because we are customers and creatures of convenience. But it's difficult sometimes because you put the technology out there, but everyone's got these 510s and they're like, well, now if I have to do this, I have to buy a different battery. And now you
Is
have
it
like multiple batteries and stuff
Is it
lying around.
that, or is it a lack of education at
Good
the
point.
dispensary front? Or is it that they find their education coming from the smoke shops instead of going to the dispensary for a battery, or a vape store or something else that can easily cater to that, to the new, and actually have a much more quicker turnaround because they don't need devices to be approved by the state. They don't need anything. They can jump into the newest trend and stick. What I guess I want to go back to the messaging as you're collecting your data from the medical market right now. Where do
Right.
you see that data shifting into the adult use? Is it going to be the same for you? Do you think that the same verbiage you're coming from the patient is going to be exactly what the adult use is going to start looking for? Or do you
No.
think your voice is going to have to change into a certain capacity to account for these guys, the new
I
users?
think you're right there. I think that there's going to be an evolution in marketing, an evolution in what people want to hear. A good example would be we talk about vape cartridges. The current ones that I offer, they are only half a gram, and a lot of people have asked why not a full gram. Well, those who live in Ohio know we have this stupid rule where we're only giving people 0.84, so we're shorting our patients out the box with this stupid
Not just
0.84
shorting
rule.
it, we're charging, it's an additional tax that isn't even discussed. It's like an extra 10% tax on my product just because I'm paying for tenths, 10 of them for the same cost as what I would have paid for 8 of them in another state. They've got me twice now, but as a product, someone who's selling the product, isn't that good for you? Doesn't that at the end of the day just mean more sales for you?
Well, I don't think so. I think what to me, because I questioned this half a gram thing before, long before I got involved with Beneleaves, because I wanted to understand why even sell half grams, honestly, because you're using the same day you will for 0.84. And so what it was told to me at the time that I questioned this was that they were able to actually make half a gram cartridges a little bit stronger than the full gram partridges. And that was only because they were,
Uh-huh.
trying to stay within a 1 day rule. Now we have vape cartridges that are 1 gram. Some of
Mhm.
those 1 gram cartridges will exceed the 1 day allotment because of the level of THC that is in the cartridge. So that's another thing to consider in the medical world is this 1 day, 2 day business. Whereas when we go to rec, that ain't gonna matter. It's either
Well,
you want it or you don't.
and I think that's something to think about. As we're talking and going forward and thinking about this, Anthony, we know, especially here in Ohio, we know that the rec market is impending. We know that by late fall, late summer, early fall, we're going to have sales. And we know, and we have to be aware of this and we have to be comfortable accepting this fact that adult use will make up within a year 90% of sales in cannabis in Ohio. It's true in every other state. Michigan above us is 8%. Missouri is 9%. Like, we know this. We know that the medical portion is going to be a small percentage, and adult use will be where the majority of sales come from. How do companies, or what's your mindset, right? As someone who is so patient focused, as someone who came to this plant as a person whose life has been therapeutically made the better from this product, you talk about it, you promoted the media. How do you personally grapple, and how do you think companies are going to grapple with, if you want to sell weed, man, you better sell to adult use, but there is this therapeutic value. Like, you have to get the messaging out there, but you cannot, I mean, you have to go all in on adult use, or you're just not going to be viable. You're not going to be able to exist. So how do you balance that as we look towards that market?
The big answer to this question is taxes. So, as a medical patient, there's going to be a tax break that's already been discussed and kind of clarified. However, what was proposed when I testified was no taxes at all for medical patients. So, if we get to a place where there is no tax for medical patients at all, none, and then you still have your indigent and veteran discounts. Well, veteran discounts will carry over to rec, but I think people are not understanding the indigent discounts aren't going to carry over.
Oh, is that one not, or is that, or the terminal, are both those going to carry over to rec?
I don't believe so. I believe it's going to stay in the medical program. So I haven't heard anything. They might have changed that, but
I
my
haven't heard it
understanding is
either.
that,
Yeah, I haven't heard. I did not know even I didn't know the veterans was going to go over to rec. I had not heard that either.
well, that's just a clone of whatever other states do. Most
Okay,
all
Yeah,
the
that
I
states
makes
get you.
offering the rec. I mean, a discount to veterans. That's pretty much standard across the board. What I'm most concerned about right now is that if the legislator, if we don't vote in these midterms, is coming up. What is it, this week or next week? I think it's this week. We don't
Yes.
vote these
yeah.
people, and everybody's saying, "Well, who are they?" I'm like, "Didn't y'all see him on TV? We had him on TV. Yeah, you got to vote. We got to vote these people out of office, so they don't win the midterms. Because they win the midterms, that's when they're secretly planning some type of attempt to make things problems. But the Department of Cannabis Control, their stance is they want to get done with everything they need to do by the deadline. So in that sense, my concern that I want to just say out loud is I'm worried about patients who are in the program being able to access strains that they currently use to help them. Like, for example, layer cake is what I use a lot of, and layer cake is currently MIA right now in most places. So I'm concerned that patients who have found like the one that works for them, and then they're not going to be able to get this, and it's going to be a long wait, and then these long lines, these gravy train lines that are going to be coming. Because I think some people, we're just worried about who in Ohio is going to go buy it. They're not even fathoming Kentucky, Michigan,
Oh, I
Indiana,
hope
West
they are. I mean,
Virginia.
we're going to be 25. We should be 25 to 30% out of state licensees, if not more, in our purchases. I
It's
think
going to
that's
be a lot.
very clear. Those Southern Ohio, I mean, you look at Illinois, their first year was pushing 30%. Michigan averages about 24% out of state licensing. That's going to go down a little bit because a lot of those are from the OHIO. But
Right.
we're going to have a multitude between Indiana, Pennsylvania, and then all of the Bible Belt below us. We're one of the closest adult use states now. So you're going to have, man, if you are in Southern Ohio, that's where you should put your dispensary, right on the border, like Bridge, OH River, Mastamynd dispensary, right there on the toll booth. Just open it up. There's that welcome to Ohio sign, and Anthony Riley's up there with like a little shack on the side, just selling copious amounts of cannabis. That's the jam right there.
Man, you sound like you laid out the vision, man. I was
I
thinking
think
about
about
some
this a
others,
lot, apparently. It's
but you got me, you selling me on this southern, but no, nah, my good folks already down there. They got that. They probably got that all figured out. We probably late to the party on that. But
well, you're all right though. It's going to be a lot of out of state stuff.
what's exciting is the fact that right now we're at 120, and projections are we're going to have 300 dispensaries. There's 14 open in Columbus right now. I think a lot of people, or I don't want to get a med card right now, but I got my medical card, and I like being able to go to dispensary, and there's no long wait. I can order online. I can do all these things that and then Michigan, guess what? They ain't got no drive through like we do.
No, and there's a
We got
drive through
we gonna
popping up
have
all the
we gonna
time.
be like Ohio, the home of the cannabis drive-through.
Oh, they are all the time. I'll tell you what, cannabis drive-throughs make those PEDs hard as hell, man, because no one comes in the door. If you're at a store that has a drive-through, it is a drive-through heavy business. And that sucks because you can't add on sales at a drive-through typically. It's interesting. I think cannabis companies right now are in a weird spot where they are trying to market cannabis like it was 16 and 17 and 18 pre-COVID when it was PEDs and such. But the number of online sales, which is not hard to track down, but if you talk to people, it's clearly 60%. The number of dispensaries that are doing things like drive-throughs and such, they're making it quicker and faster and easier to get this. And so I think simplicity is going to be the key. I think there's an education part to it as well, but I think the companies that are realizing, especially in adult use markets, that if you can make it simple and easy and quick for folks, both the explanation of the product, how the product works, just make it as simple as possible. I think you're going to sell it, right? I think that's the issue with concentrates. I'm a big fan of the little minor nectar collector kind of things, electric ones. I think the days of big giant dab rigs and those things, it's going to be less and less. You're always going to be some. Like when I say that, everyone's like, oh, there's always going to be 5%.
But is it less, or is it just that but why? Is it that you've expanded your market share and have accounted for a more broad sense of individual who feels
no, people are
confident?
Lazy.
I don't believe is that how about this? I do believe that every cannabis user has habitual routines with their medicine. It doesn't matter that it's convenient per se. It's the routine of, I can hit it when I do this. I can do it here. I can get away with it in this faction. I think they're still building routines, and thus there always needs to be the extreme hobbyist in every single thing that we do. There's going to always be the person who says, oh no, I'm going to use my dab rig because now I have absolute control over how I'm vaporizing this oil, how I heat it up, what temperature it really is specifically at, what materials I'm putting it in, which are infinitely safer than other materials and other devices that I can use. I don't think that shit's going out, but I think as we broaden the use case for cannabis and broaden the amount of people coming to it from other medicines, yes, of course, there's things that are going to trump it. I always laugh when I hear the numbers are going to go down, and it's not going down. You're expanding your market share. You're expanding who you're actually talking to. So what does that look like? Is it always going to be 30%? No, especially not in a medical versus adult use scenario where you have, again, different usage cases. There are people who can't pick up hand pipes in the medical market. The adult use market isn't necessarily that. Isn't that, I'm curious that, we talked a little bit before the show about how there's really like two groups of cannabis corporate in the country right now, or in the state. It's this idea of, you have existing legacy people, and then you have black market people. Where does the black market go, and how does the existing legacy market still feel like they can stay relevant to new money, new investors, new scenarios? How do both of those factions play out within the state, especially as we transition to adult use?
I think what's got to happen is some of these local folks who have built a name for themselves, they're going to need brand deals. They need a white label. I think that's going to be their entry to get things going. And then as you learn these things about what it takes to become compliant in a legal market, then that gives you insight on what you need to do. If you're looking at, let's say you're a grower and you want to get your grow facility. Well, before you start trying to figure out how to do that, you got to at least understand what it's like to be inside a commercial grow facility. I think that there needs to be a lot more tours. People need to be able to see what they're paying for. And I think that's going to have a dynamic in the market, is the ability for content creators like us to create content that people will be able to see, because everybody ain't going to want to go tour no facility, but there are going to be a lot of people who would love to go and tour a facility and see what's going on. And it's going to change the consumer's perception. If you go to Galena's, for example, and tour the facility, I can almost guarantee without a doubt that you are going to leave the grow and probably go buy some Galenas if you can.
Oh, it's so exciting. You get so pumped up when you're inside. You immediately head to the store and you're like, give me some of that second breakfast I-71 all day, right in the vein, man.
Right.
Do you think cannabis tourism is an important factor to something like that? Do you think that it's going to be necessary for us to have second breakfast?
That's high quality.
Do you think that like that idea of let's wrangle them all into a bus and let's show them 4 facilities in the day instead of separate scheduling, separate, like
4 facilities in one day sounds impossible when it takes sometimes an hour or 2 to
that's
get
true
through
too.
one.
That's true
Go
too.
try to
You
be
have to.
certified in
You got to
somebody else
build
in
the
one day.
experience. Have you guys ever, either one of you, have you ever been on a tour of like a Anheuser-Busch plant or anything like that? Been to Coors Brewery and taken the tour, or
I've
a
been
tour
in
at a
the
whiskey
back there
facility?
and watched them, been introduced to the hops, been able to break them up and smell them and
Here's the
stuff like
secret
that.
to those:
It.
the tasting room. See, that's the difference right now. That's the biggest issue we have. The best part of an experience of going on a whiskey tour, going on a Coors Brewery tour, going on an
Sample.
Anheuser-Busch. Man, I had a day. There may have been a time where during college, I may have just got hammered by going through the same Anheuser-Busch tour like 6 times in a row and getting my 4 free samples and like trying to put on a hat and pretend I wasn't me. I may or may not have done that. I totally did. So that part, right? That's the issue. And it's interesting, Dustin, when you say cannabis tourism, my first brain goes to taking people to spots to consume, right? Like putting them on a bus and like a double-decker bus. You got a little guide and like, hey, over here's where some great weeds grown, and you're doing a shtick kind of thing, and you roll into a consumption cafe. You go, you roll into another place, you pop a little Warren Bobro beverage, you're going down your thing, right? But I like this idea of tourism being seen where it's made, right? And that's that whole Anheuser-Busch course, the whiskey, it's big in Kentucky. Speaking of that southern area, big down there, but we can't typically have that on site. You can't have that try it consumption. So the key may be if you have a facility that's super close to a dispensary, right? That's what you do. You got to find places and hook them up, or get a dispensary. Like maybe if you open your own, put it close to your facility, because to Anthony's point, the best part of a tour is the instant sales push that you get. But if they're not able to purchase right away, or maybe gift shops, can we have gift shops? We can't sell swag technically in the industry. So that's the piece that cannabis and tourism misses, is the revenue generating streams from it.
Yeah, I can sell swag because I'm not a license holder.
Yeah, you can, but the license holders can't. They can't technically sell the swag. So that makes it interesting, because that's a big part of those. You go through the tour and you want to grab a Jim Beam or a Coors
But
hat
they're
and a
not
shirt.
making sustainable income off of selling swag. Like they're
No,
not like,
you're
oh, I
building.
pay
It's all
for half
about the
my
experience.
employees.
It's marketing.
It's a
Swag
loyalty
is
It's
thing.
for building the experience, man. I
That's
go to the
true.
zoo. I hurry my kids. The Akron Zoo purposely has the only exit is through their gift shop. Like you can't get out without, and that's what, how many people buy? It's like an email marketing, maybe 10%, doesn't matter. I put blinders on my kids. I literally will put their face mask. I'll be like, no, we just get through that store. I'm like a hostage situation. I'm like, go, get them out of here. They don't need any more snakes that go like this. No. But that's how you get them, right? And in that case, it's kids, but it's not as sustainable. But it's two things, right? It's instant brand like equity. I'm wearing a logo. Now they're advertising for you. But there is that splurge, instantaneous purchase that you're preying upon in people's mindsets. And so it may only be 10%, but that 10% is valuable, and it adds to the experience. The gift shop is not always a moneymaker. It's another tour spot, right? It's another
Well, and I
thing
do
to
think
do.
those 10% are usually your social mavens who others come
Clickety
to
clack,
for
selfie.
information. They are the local guides to the holders of that info. They have a lot of friends who call them and ask them what they should be doing, or how do I get my card? What do you recommend in this scenario? It's like the old weed dealer days where it was better for me as a shop to give a fucking great discount to the guys I know were slanging a little bit of product on the side, because everybody was going
Allegedly.
to their house and being like, where'd you get that pipe? Where did you get this thing? How do what do I do? And they always were the mavens of information.
I
But
just
we're
picture a young
transitioning
Dustin.
out of all of
Decent.
that. And now I feel like, to build the loyalty, how are we getting the sets of 3 with our new clients today? How do we push out an advertisement that works, allow for the second form of loyalty to have someone hear or talk about it, and then the third is allowing them to purchase a product and enjoy it, and getting all 3 so that they stay with your brand and make the marketing make sense, make the dollars spent to acquire that customer actually make sense. And I don't think anybody I'm not going to say anybody. I don't think a lot of the cultivators or processors or anyone else within our state, within a license, ever felt the need to do that. It was a monopolized market with only so many licenses. And I don't think it was as competitive as we like to pretend when there's only 17 competitors. This is as we open this up to more licenses, now we're forced as an industry to really think of how do we acquire our customer and keep them. And I don't think we've seen it in Ohio. I think it's a big hush hush joke thing of like, shh, we're all competitors, right? We're beating each other up. And it's like, no, there's only 17 of us. You all are going to dinners together and pretending to hate each other on the side.
I would say that there are definitely some divisions in this program. There are companies that absolutely will not work together, no matter what we say here today. They're not going to work together, and they're not going to have that person's product at their dispensary, and that's an unfortunate thing because there are certain products that only one company makes, and they're good at what they're doing, and then the dispensary doesn't want to carry the products, and so and like you said, when there's 17 people in the club, now it's 120. And what
Right.
we're finding out is a lot of people that got them licenses didn't even need to get them licenses, and they just selling them to
Yep.
whoever. And next thing you know, by the time we look up the dispensaries we currently have now, none of them will be those names anymore.
They're
Because
always
people are
changing.
sold.
All
Yeah,
the
and
time, man.
I mean, in nationwide right now, it's something like 65% of licenses sell within the first 2 to 3 years
Well, we only got a
nationwide.
1 year rule here. It's only 1 year.
And that's what's insane
Oh, and
is
they
it's not
started
hard
flipping
to
like
keep something
crazy.
for a year while you're even building up your
We're not even
permits, and
open yet.
it's nothing. Yeah, exactly. You're not even open. And so the exit strategy is a heck of a lot weirder when it comes to that. They don't have the same, I need to build this long-standing brand. I need to be really good to my customers because they're going to come back. It's like none of that matters. They
I'm
they
selling
know
it
they're
anyway.
yeah,
I'm
right.
flipping
And
it
so
anyway.
I don't know how I feel about any of that, but I also like this idea that some people are going to be kicked in the balls a little bit and kind of be shook awake
Like
of
it.
like, if you still want to be in this industry in 6 years, you're going to have to start doing things in a better way. You're going to really have to spend the amount of money it takes to really do it the right way instead of just throwing shit at the wall and knowing anybody's going to buy it just because it's what's available. Do you think that we're going to, with all these new licenses, do you think Ohio is going to be the next state that has to deal with, say, slotting of their shelves, where we're auctioning off shelf space as opposed to putting products that deserve certain visuals? Like, do you think that the way we sell products in that case is going to be different, going to change in that way where you almost need money to sell the product? You need $1 million to buy the shelf in that store, as
I would
opposed
argue it's not the shelf, it's the web space. It's the advertisements for there. More and more sales are going to happen online before they get to the store, and more sales are going to be through the drive-through. So that's my point, Dustin. I think shelf space thought process is so a few years ago.
But when we're
Like,
not able to track and specifically like hone in on who our customer was, marketing is the largest bubble in the world. Marketing has the hardest time truly pinpointing where this person heard the ad, when they actually clicked to buy, and whether what you sold them or what you told them 6 months ago is the reason why they bought today. Marketing has an impossible task with that. Even the largest corporations, Google, the largest advertising firms in the world, they truly don't have real trackable metrics to make the statements that they do to prove how we actually acquired this customer. So how do we make that process more efficient and actually designate ads to your specific customer and knowing when they're acquired? What's the change that's going to happen in that? Because right now it just seems like it's a it's a fallacy to when you hear, oh, I'm going to give you 40,000 impressions, or I'm going to, the way they sell ad space now, it doesn't make sense to me without higher technology.
Well, I think you kind of hit on it about the impressions, the views, and things like that. Now we're finding out is that it's not how many subscribers you got, it's not how many followers you got, it's not how big you are. It's about retention and what your ability is to retain that person's attention. And the same thing goes to dispensary. One of the number one things that people are going to complain about, and already have been for a while, is this: I'm buying a product and I can't see it before I buy it. I can't smell,
Mhm.
like as we talked about, we can't sample it, we can't smell it, and we can't see it. Now, some
That's a great
dispensaries
point.
have went back and implemented sniff and smell jars, which is great. A lot of other places are just putting confetti in a bag and saying, "Here it is," and not realizing that they are losing sales because a person goes in there and you show me a frosty bag sitting in a case and you tell me it's on sale for $99 and there's four other frosty bags in there and I don't even have to touch them. I can just look in the case and be like, "Whoa, what's that?" You know what I mean? Now, the
Great point.
drive-through, we need to start thinking like McDonald's. We need to put a menu outside that has visuals. We needed a screen out there that shows people, like, and here's the thing about our drive-through model that's different from the regular ordering process, and what's being involved even in fast food is this idea of shopping online first. And
Yep.
like he said, the real estate online on the website, to make it to where people won't be like, "Man, this is too much confusing. I'm gonna go somebody else's website that's simpler to navigate." And then you're looking at something else that's really annoying, is getting emails, marketing emails at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 in the morning, from the same dispensary 2 and 3 times. And it's the same dispensary. And they're just like pushing so many marketing, thinking that if I guerrilla market it so hard and bug the same 3 people I got on my email list, then maybe they'll come in, when really I'm going to ignore every email because they're not advertising, like you said, what I'm actually looking for, because they didn't ask. They're just guessing. I think, based on these inflated numbers, that they're and we have people that run these dispensaries that the buyer isn't even in Ohio. They're in Texas or somewhere. And they never even smoked any Ohio weed.
That
So how
happens
did they
all the
even
time.
know? And then again, feedback, feedback, feedback. That's one of the number one things that I could say, is that part of the reason I've had success in what I'm doing, because I'm constantly digging around the internet looking to see what people are saying, and then responding to that if need be, and learning when not to respond to some things that could be a trap or a trick, just to get you into responding and get you in your feelings, especially on Reddit. And I've
Those
learned,
Redditors, you're mean. You're mean
yes,
Redditors. You have no
yes,
soul sometimes in Reddit.
yes, and I've learned that you have to be very careful what you say there. And if you don't have good karma, you're not going. I don't care how much money you've got in your bank. If your karma is zero, you're not posting. If your karma is 100, you're not. They're not going to pay you. No, you have no respect on that site. They can
Yep.
click on there and look at your name. He's a newbie. Look at
Yep.
his karma score. Everything he posts gets downvoted. It's a
Oh.
lot harder. I mean, TikTok, there are just these tiers, algorithms. I got my dog on there right now. She trying to get famous. Because I just
Look
feel
at
like I
you.
gave up on the weed, man. I feel
You're
like
just like, I'm gonna make my dog famous. That's
yeah,
fantastic, Anthony.
Okay,
yeah,
well, how do what we if it's important for the media to provide information consistently and always be up to speed on what's happening, what's new, and why, where's the balance between inundating your customer with information to always being there to provide information?
I
How
like
do we
weekly at 4:20 p.m. on Wednesdays. I feel like that's the appropriate amount of content that
I like
people like.
Fridays.
I like Wednesdays 4:20 p.m. on YouTube, Thursdays on Spotify's video. You can check out Ohio Cannabis Live every Friday on
At
the YouTube
420.
channel. It is a balance, right? And speaking of
Yes.
that, it's hard sometimes, Anthony, because when you get into this like social media game, all the great quality content is fantastic, but it's a quantity game sometimes. Like you just have to be again and again and always reminding them. So it's hard sometimes because you have to keep constant content going and battle that quality versus quantity game all the time.
Yeah, it is, and then also the cost of it to produce content. When I first started, I had a phone, an empty desk, and a white T-shirt. That was really about it. I didn't have no lapel mic. I didn't have a high quality camera. I didn't even have a monitor. I had given up on a lot of this stuff, and I just thought, well, if I can just make a couple videos and people will like it and it'll do well, then I'll invest in it. And as it kept going, I started realizing, as I started, like you mentioned before the show, trying different programs and whatnot, and seeing the reaction to those programs, and I started learning, man, this ain't working. And then again, I had to start really spending time going through every comment. Every people don't want to do this. This is the hardest part of this
Yeah,
whole
I
thing.
say no way. Just so
Yeah,
no, just so you know, if you
And
leave a
I'm
comment,
constantly
only Dustin's
reminding.
reading it. Just know that's our relationship right now, audience. Anthony's going to read your comments. Dustin's going to read your comments. ADGAF. IDGAF. A lot of acronyms there. You know what?
yeah. I mean, I've learned that reading those comments.
Bad for the soul. That's what I think.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me from Reddit, from Facebook, from Instagram directly. Like I've had people call me. I've met ate dinner with people. I've connected with so many people, and I actually learned when I was in the media school that LinkedIn is like the next big place. Like LinkedIn is
Yeah.
taking off. I can't. My LinkedIn just don't stop going. Like I'm constantly getting alert. You know it. You know,
You and
and these
Dustin are
be
way
good
nicer. That's what I'm learning.
opportunities. Yeah.
You guys are
So
so much nicer to your audiences.
yeah, I mean, and you can post content there. I think you can even stream live on LinkedIn now.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
you
we've
can.
done it a little bit. We've kind of pushed back to just doing your YouTube for now and then putting it over there just to kind of keep the captured audience. But you can do it into there. It's interesting. All
And
right,
it's a
Anthony.
weighted algorithm. It's this idea that like Instagram or LinkedIn will weight you differently if you're coming from a restream platform than if
Yes.
you're dialing directly into them and using their own software to live stream. And so it's the constant balance of where do I actually want the eyes checking constantly for the information, and where do I just want to remind them of the place to check the stuff constantly. I am
Absolutely.
curious at um I'm curious at what you feel about this notion of, is it better to present yourself as already formulated, as already the we'll just take your streaming, your show. Was it better for you to build with the consumer, build with the people who are loyal to you, and let them watch you grow into the new? Or was it better, or do you think it's better to present yourself as perfect right off the rip, hone in on the production value day one, and never showcase a subpar video or a subpar, production software or anything like that? Like, do you think it matters to be perfect off the gate, or do you think you should, again, allow them to build with you, watch them see your progress?
I felt like once you've built your niche of what is going to make you entertaining or what's going to keep people coming back to watch you, they don't care whether you've got an iPhone, a cell phone, a webcam, or I stream from an iPad. It really at some point gets to your mind of how you want it to look, and they're less focused about the quality of how it looks. It's more about the substance and the content, and what are you talking about, and how does that affect their lives. If it
Mhm.
doesn't affect their daily lives, that's like I'm saying, if I got spending all my time every week talking about medical cannabis and didn't talk about home grow and didn't talk about rec, no one will watch my content, because like we discussed, the percentage of medical patients in this state is very small. So I always had to try to keep making sure that when I'm talking about things that are not just locked in Ohio, but have a broader impact in the cannabis space in general. I think that makes content more interesting and more evergreen. But if you just stay deadlocked into the same thing periodically, you're going to lose people. And I think with all the things we got going on, our message has been the same for 3 or 4 weeks: is that you need to vote. You need to pay attention to what these initiatives are, because having participation in a public commenting process, which has been happening with the Department of Cannabis Control, is an important thing for people to realize. Is that this is the opportunity where you can send an email and let them know how you feel about these proposed changes before they just do it. And this isn't voting, and this isn't vote. This is real simple. Sending an email and saying, "I'm for this. Do it." I don't like. We had the penny thing. Now, the state fee is a penny. Before
Mhm.
that was implemented, there was a comment period that was open to anybody in Ohio that wanted to say, "Don't do it or do it." I responded and said, "Hey, I want you to get rid of the fee altogether." I was against the penny, and the reason I was against the penny is because it still requires a person to enter in their credit card information to make a payment for a penny, and this type of transaction over time could be flagged by the patient's bank.
Yep. Or how about this? When we are talking about disenfranchised folks to begin with, simple things like having a bank account is not as easy as what people perceive. We live in this world where I'm like, oh, I feel very, how about, I feel very spoiled at the fact that I do have my bank account. I feel very, it's almost a given, most people's perception of it being a given. And the reality is it's not a given. Having a debit card, having a bank, having an ability to actually charge this to someplace, or not have it flagged to my my judge who's overseeing the case of my child support hearings, or whatever else that's it's involved with it. We always perceive this process as being, it's as a gimme. And I don't think we really break down the steps, or to even say that penny processing fee. Visa's probably charging the state even more money just to process a penny than what the penny was to be charged.
It doesn't
So
even
it's
make
actually
sense.
Well, the plan
costing
is
the
the
state
penny is
more
going to go
money than
away.
what a free
Yes.
thing would be, you know? So it's this nuance of like, why are we creating these barriers when all we want is to give access? If that's truly the reason why we're doing it, is to increase access, why place any barrier to begin with?
Let me answer this real quick before we go. So part of the problem is that the system ORS, which is what runs our medical program, was never really designed for marijuana, medical cannabis purchasing. It was designed to monitor drug opiate abuse. So we're using a system that's designed to monitor abuse and opiates to track sales for medical cannabis patients and recommendations. So basically the company, Bamboo Health, who was the ones who built the program, instead of it just being something simple like an item into a system like Square or something where you can just
Blockchain.
delete the item and it's gone. They literally had to uncode the whole thing, because even if you just deleted the fee, then the system would still look for a payment, because that's how they built it. That's how they coded
Yep.
it. So I mean, we could probably get AI to finish this up in a few minutes, right? Hey AI, here's the code, reverse it so that
Soon.
there's no fee. They're wasting a lot of time. They probably haven't paid their chat
Well,
GPT.
then you don't get all the government cutbacks for the contract and in the same
Yeah,
way.
it's a system here, folks. Somebody's got to make that bank. Someone's got to make that money
Well, they
for
probably
that.
told them. They probably told them,
Anthony,
hey, give
what
us.
actually is exciting you then about these changes? What, as we end this show, what are you really looking forward to over the next 14 months or 16 months?
Well, for me, what I'm looking for, other than selling a lot of Mastermind cannabis products,
So much Mastamynd cannabis.
but other than that, what I'm hoping to see is that we, first of all, we start really zeroing in and getting the community out of their shell. And I'm gonna say this, I didn't mention this, but you know, for being a black man, a lot of black people ain't that excited about all the stuff we're talking about, because they don't feel like as a cannabis industry in Ohio, we haven't really done anything to really connect with them.
That's
All
true.
we're doing is offering availability, but we look at the diversity and how things are, they not that diverse. And I feel like, you know, honestly, a lot of times, you know, the amount of people who do go to dispensaries that look like me is definitely a smaller percentage. And a lot of people in the program, I mean, they're white. A lot of people that are black have not embrace the medical program because of the cost, because of all the red tape that we have created. And even though we've broken down a lot of this stuff and we've got telemedicine now, trying to educate and inform people about these new changes, these new
Mhm.
things, even the penny. I was at a dispensary and the dispensary employees, they don't even know it's a penny yet. It was like, wait, didn't you not get, are you not on the email? Of course they're not. They're just
Yeah,
working. So
exactly.
we're
They
not even
clock
doing a
out.
good job, not us, but I'm talking about the state and whoever else is involved in getting messaging out. We're not even doing a good job of letting patients know that the fee is only a penny. And then, you know, at some point, there does need to be an expectation of when exactly is that going to go away, so that people can plan when they want to renew their card. And like you had said, you brought up a very good point. We take things like bank accounts, cell phones, emails. I learned that over the weekend helping people get their card. We have people that don't even know how to download an app yet.
Yep.
So it's a lot to learn, and especially when we're going to have a rec market, we're going to have people that are going to be at the dispensary for 2 hours trying to make up their mind whether they want Larry OG or wedding cake.
Oh,
And
it's
you're
gonna
going
be
to be like,
chaos.
you're going to be the guy that's in the waiting room who already placed an order online, and you've got 15 new people in there that have never been inside of a dispensary, and they're looking around still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need that self checkout quick. Got
Yes, I
that
think we
product
need
going.
to. I think honestly, the state is forcing medical cannabis dispensaries to do rec sales when it should stay optional initially, because forcing a lot of these dispensaries to be able to do both, although there's all these big companies, we're ready, we're ready, we're ready. There's a bunch of little ones. They're struggling. They're struggling hard. They could use direct sales, but guess what? They don't have the workers. They don't have the money to buy the stuff.
Yeah, or they don't have they're not treating their workers well enough so that they don't leave. I mean, it's hard to keep.
It is a turnover fest right now. Every time a new dispensary opens up, I feel like half the staff leaves and goes there. I've been to talk to so many, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I used to work. I was just at one. I won't even name names. I was at. There were like 4 or 5 around me in the Akron area where I live. I've been to a couple, and as I was there, the 2 people sitting there had worked for 2 of the other ones in the past 365 days, 1 year. Both of them kind of followed each other, went from one, new one open, they went over there and applied, new one open, because get a few bucks, they get a little bit of maybe a bump up in position to become a key 2 or something because they got 50 days experience in one thing. So it's interesting. There's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of things. Here's what we know. It's not perfect. It's fun to be able to buy cannabis. We got a lot of work to do. And if you want to keep up on what that work is, if you want to figure out what those messages, you got to go to OhioCannabisLive.com and support Anthony and what he is doing with Ohio Cannabis Live. Find him on YouTube. Find him on Instagram. We'll put the links below in the comments. Obviously, Mastamynd Cannabis available at a few different dispensaries, including those uplifts in Mount Orab and Milford. You can buy the gas grape right now. It's multiple dispensaries across Ohio. Grape gas. That's hard to say. Grape gas. Available now in multiple dispensaries. We'll put the link to Ohio Cannabis Live in the comments. Find it out. Anthony Riley, thanks for joining with us, man. Thanks for hanging out today. I still think we might be competition, but we're like friendly competition, right? We like get along, but when you leave, I may be like, I got to beat him so bad. I got to figure out how to beat him in the ratings. Maybe we got to come together, Anthony Riley, like Voltron, Power Rangers, form together.
There you go. I love Voltron.
Collective. Bam. All right. Anthony, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. It's been awesome talking to you, man. Take care.
Peace.
All right. For you folks listening at home, thanks for joining us for another. Anthony was awesome, wasn't he, Dustin?
Man, it was such a great conversation. I can't wait to have him back on.
Got to do it again. Yeah. And by the way, shout out to Anthony for joining our theme today. Didn't even know he was going to rock an orange peaches color, but shout out to you for joining the themed look we had going on today. Thank you. You. Yes, you. Not him, not her, not.
Oh, wait, I got to apologize too.
What are you apologizing for?
I got to apologize for a couple shows back. I dropped 188 F-bombs on our 2-hour show.
If you want to go check out a very special episode of Because Cannabis, it's actually, I'm joking, it's a very serious episode. I'll let you go check out the show. You got to learn it together. Learns Dustin's journey. It was a heartbreaking episode, but it also had a lot of fucks in it.
Yes, so sorry. So if you want a censored version of it, go to the Spotify. But for now, I'm sorry.
We did bleep out. We did take out a lot of the F-bombs on the Spotify version. But you can check it out now. A very special episode of Because Cannabis. Dustin talking about his time at the Ivy Ridge Academy, subject right now of the program Netflix documentary. So listen to that. Thank you, everyone, for checking out our show today with Anthony Riley. Please give them some support at Mastamynd, the different cannabis products available, Grape Gas, as well as OhioCannabisLive.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening to us on YouTube. Brand new episodes every Wednesday, 4:20 p.m. on Spotify with video, less fucks on there, and anywhere that you listen to audio podcast. We give a fuck. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. We'll see you guys next week, everyone. Later.
Later, guys.